Welcome. In this video, I'm going to share an idea which we all need to live a good life, a happy life, and a successful one, and a contented life. Most of the times, all of us in the early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, we will definitely have one question. What is it that is required to live a happy life? How do I succeed? What do I really want to do in my life? If you're not thinking about it all the time, when you're not happy probably, or some bad days, you would think about what I am doing, what is my passion, what really I want to do in my life, how to be happy. So all sorts of such, you call it a philosophical question or practical question. So things come up like that, and I'm going to share an idea with you which might help you, to live a life with that particular thought process in your mind, so that you have a structured life around it, right? So the key idea here is that we need to progress in 4 dimensions to be able to live a successful, happy, contented life. So if I may call the session, this is nothing but how to succeed in life, right? You call it success, which has different meaning to each person. One person's success may not necessarily mean success to another person. Or you call it happiness, or you call it a contented life, right? You should not feel that, oh, I did not do certain things, or I did not live a life which I should have done it towards the end of it, right? So if you have to live a life like that, the idea is that we need to live in a holistic way where we progress on 4 different dimensions, right? I'll come to it, what exactly I mean by that. First, physical. Second, mental. Social. And spiritual. So if you work on progressing your life in totality, covering all the aspects of physical, mental, and social and spiritual well-being, then you will be able to live a successful life. That is the idea here. So what exactly does this mean? See, for example, I'm sure you would have noticed or come across people having lots of money, maybe a businessman or a politician or whoever that may be, having lots of money, but in the process of making money or in his work, he lost his health. Obviously, you cannot call him successful at all, even though he may be having billions of dollars, crores and crores of rupees, whatever that is. Because if your health is not well, you will not be able to enjoy anything in your life, right? What is the use of having money? You cannot call them successful. Let's say if you have both money, lots of money, all possessions, house, car, that, this and all material possession, you also have health, right? So everything is fine, money, health, everything is good. You may think he may be considered successful, but if, let's say, society does not give him the respect that he wanted, or does not treat him the way he or she wanted him to be or her to be, probably he did not live the life in a very good manner, whatever that reason may be. If you're not good socially, you are not respected, you do not get along well with the people, then even then you are not going to be successful in any way. Now let's say your money is good, health is fine, society also you are respected, and probably you are considered good enough. However, you cannot sleep properly in the night. You have some guilt, or your conscience does not let you sleep well in the night, right? This is good, this is good, this is good, but this is not. So even then, you cannot be considered successful. What is the use of so much money or so much physical fitness, mental health, everything? Society also, people respect you, you are famous, you are having everything that you need, but in the night when you go to bed, you can't sleep well. You have some guilty consciousness or something which you have not done well, or you know within yourself that you have not done something right. Then you cannot be called successful at all, and you will not be able to live a life which is called happy life. The thing is, point here is, your money, health, they all come under physical dimension, somewhat mental dimension too, right? Physical and mental. Society, all these aspects come under social dimension, whereas the feeling of guilt, consciousness, your conscience, knowing what you have done, what you have not done, right or wrong things, all come under spiritual. So basically the point here is that you need to progress in all these four dimensions: physical, mental, social, and spiritual, to be considered, or at least to an extent that you are successful. You lead a successful life, you are happy, and you are contented. So most of the time everybody makes the mistake of focusing a lot on the physical dimension, which is nothing but your material needs, financial health, your occupation, all of that. Progressing most of the living time or livable time in those dimensions, in that dimension specifically, but do not progress as much on the social or spiritual dimensions towards later part of their age, right? Only when you are in late 40s or 50s, then you start thinking about the spirituality, right and wrong and things like that. But the point here is not to overboard with any of the aspects in any one area, but to balance the life, progressing in all the four dimensions, which will give a holistic, happy, and wellness to your life. So that's the idea which I wanted to pass. But now getting to details, that will make a bit more clear about this particular idea, because you might have read about it, you might have seen webinars, seminars around similar topics. You might have seen wellness wheels, which have sometimes 7, sometimes 6, sometimes 8 dimensions. We will cover all of that so that you understand the meaning of each of these dimensions, how to really practically apply in life, right? Because knowing all of this in a theory, it all looks good and makes sense, but then how do we live in a life, and how do we really apply in our day-to-day life? That becomes a most important thing. That's what we cover in the next half. Okay, so now we talked about progressing all of this in 4 dimensions, but what do they really are, right? So physical dimension. So when you consider physical dimension, you could think about progressing well on the health front. Keep your health well, have some fitness routines, diet routines, live a moderate life, do walking or jogging or exercises, have some routine. Don't do overboard with anything, but keeping the health in a balanced way. Doing simple exercises may work for you, or doing some strength trainings sometimes in a week, if not all. Running maybe once or twice, not too much, but whatever that works for you. Maybe it's playing some sports. So whatever that is, keep your health, diet, sleep, all of that, nutrition, right? So all these are part of keeping your physical dimension well. You need to make sure that all of these are there. It doesn't end over there. So you all, all basic needs, right? Maybe it's your house to live, the environment in which you are there, because there may be sunshine, there may not be sunshine, whether it has an impact on the overall well-being and how we live life. It may be surrounding areas, the people around you, the neighborhood, and the kind of houses you are having, living with as your neighbors. All of that matters, and house of your own or comfortable house, whatever is required to live well, and all the other material needs, right? I mean, the list will be so huge. All your material needs, maybe it's a car to drive, or furnitures in your house, or so many other things. All these come under physical dimension. And not only that, the key part in the physical dimension is also financial part, right? Financial part, money, right? And the whole aspect of coming to money, right, where you earn money, you save money, how you spend money, how you live frugal life, all of that part of your financial well-being all comes under really the physical dimension. In some wellness fields, you might have seen occupational as a separate entity, but in a very broad sense, money is also comes under your physical dimension, and also your stress management. Right, so all these are part of physical dimension. Let's go to one, health. We talked about diet, sleep, nutrition, fitness, all of that. Your basic needs, environment, house, material needs, and all of that. Financial, it's a very big topic in itself. Earning money, saving money, all of that, managing your stress. So all these aspects constitute your physical dimension. So when we talked about progressing in all four directions to be successful, to be considered happy, to be able to live a happy life, we definitely need to consider improving in each of these aspects under physical dimension. But the good part, or even the some of the bad parts, is that we progress and focus a lot on these physical dimension, not so much on the other dimensions, which we will cover next. But if we are not focusing on, let's say, stress management, for example, or not so much on your sleep, or not so much on your diet, for example, right? Because usually basic needs, the environment, and occupational related aspects, everybody considers usually. But if you're not focusing on any of these parts, which are essential parts for progressing in the physical dimension, that has to be done. So that is number one, right? The physical dimension. Now going to the mental dimension. So when we say mental dimension, what exactly we mean? So when you have all the basic needs met, right, and your wealth is kind of taken care, or you are taking care, what becomes important is the intellectual part of life, right? You just think of a life where materially you're all good, but there's no intellectual stimulation. Probably you do not try to learn something new, or you're not trying to have some good conversation, intellectually stimulating conversation, or you're not reading anything new. You're not progressing well on your mental side of the things, where you are not progressing much from growth perspective from your mind and thinking something new. Maybe you're not writing anything, or you're not planning well, right? So all these aspects come under your mental dimension. Even the creativity, right, innovation. Just think about it. If you do any of these, how much of a life energy you will have? I mean, be it in your profession or in a personal life, all this adds up. And most often, you will try to or tend to progress on these dimensions specifically on art or music a little bit later in life, and almost all everybody does. I mean, that's the nature. I mean, you have to have some artistic touch to the life. Probably you enjoy some music, or you may be able to read well written articles or books or poems or any such things, right? So these are all part of your growth on the mental side, on the mind, right? And it is absolutely important, just like your physical dimension. And not only that, you are learning. Once you start learning something new, be it a skill or be it a sport or be it a language or anything, if you spend some time progressing in that direction, the whole of life, you get some purpose in achieving that goal or whatever, right? And thinking, you call it critical thinking. When you deeply think about something and try to come up with something or solve problems, right? Problem solving. You need to learn something to do all these activities on mental side of the things. What happens is your growth will be extraordinary, in the sense that more you shape up your thinking and your mind and your ability to do that, and also you involve with other people's mind through reading, and you write your own something, then it becomes a very clarity in your thoughts and your actions, which will lead to, when you plan, you think ahead, and you come up with many ideas. You can creatively do something, you innovate, you show interest in art. Maybe you attend some some programs on the music, or you like some artistic performances or artifacts. The whole side of your brain and mind focusing on these activities will help you have sunshine to your mind, not just the physical dimension. You will also progress on the mental dimension. It is extremely important, and don't neglect this part, because as I mentioned, we tend to focus a lot on this one, but not so much on these other aspects. So that becomes very important to progress on these as well. There is the second dimension, physical and mental, we cover. We'll come to the spiritual part first, because most of these dimensions which we spoke about, physical and mental, mostly we could cover within ourselves. Then the social dimension, which we cover last, will be something with other people, right? So when we talk about spiritual dimension, what we are really talking about is not about any religion or spirituality, etc. But what we are really talking about is, moral values, right? The sense of right and wrong. It may sound a little bit philosophical, a little bit spiritual, but I believe that it's very practical. You need to have these aspects in order for the life to be well, right? Sense of right and wrong, and sense of purpose, right? Why I am doing what I am doing, what is the real purpose, what exactly my passion is. These are very tough, hard questions. I mean, you do not have a single answer, or you may not be able to come to that answer very quickly, or even after taking some time. But it might be vague, but you need to think about it and have some direction within you as much as possible. Meaning in life, as I mentioned earlier, your conscience, right? You need to hear about that. What does it say? Does it say something wrong, or something which bothers you? That guilt-freeness or whatever it is, right? So basically, all we are talking about is the core value system, right? What you value, what is that is right and what is not right for you, and that core value system which you strongly focus on and believe and live day by day. That is the important aspect, and it is not that everybody will be right, and it's not that everybody can progress on that quickly. But knowing about these things helps you to correct and try to live a little bit better each day, right? I mean, if you know that you are not doing something right, and because you know that, you may be able to actually put some effort in improving certain things which you're not doing right. So that core value system, progress on them, and all those something which you pray, call it prayer to the Almighty, whatever the religion may be followed, maybe it's meditation you do, all of that. And all human enemies, right? Call it envy, call it ego, all such limitations which makes you live a life in a different way, which probably are not good for you, enemies for you, really enemies for you, are something which will have to deeply think and have a view where you are lacking and try to progress in them. So the spiritual dimension makes you to think, introspect, reflect on your life a little more deeply, and come to a point where you could try to improve on things which you are not currently doing. So that's how your spiritual growth happens. So this is also very important. You may be busy in your progressing on your physical dimension, your money, work, and all of that, or you may be busy working on a lot of writing, reading on your mental dimension, intellectual stuff. But it's extremely important to progress on the spiritual dimension too. And I believe that this is a bit neglected part by most of the people in their younger years, and they start focusing only when they age. Maybe things start becoming more and more clear, and it makes sense at that particular time. Otherwise, it becomes a little bit boring as well. But that's not something which you can keep it in the back burner. As well as much as possible, these things to be given due thought much earlier in the early in your 10, 20s and 30s, if not in extensively, but at least to certain extent, so you start progressing on your spiritual dimensions as well. Now coming to the fourth and other key dimension, which is the social dimension. What we are talking about is living in community, right? See, social dimension is all about people, other people, interpersonal relationships, about that. And the very important part of progressing in a social dimension is you should have your community. It could be your family, close family and relatives, and the people surrounding your family tree, and friends, obviously. These are all very, very important aspects. Okay, I mean, I'm sure you might have read how friends help in one's well-being. We'll see so many things, but it's very important that you need to have a good circle of family and friends, and even in work, right? The relationships with colleagues, or the people you work with regularly, be it clients also, so that people and relationships with them, it becomes very important to progress for your sense of well-being and good life. Because unless you treat it with respect in society, call it reputation, it matters a lot. And even as I mentioned in the beginning, even if you have so much money, very good health wise, but people do not respect you and you do not have good name in society with people, I'm sure nobody will be happy with that, and nobody will be called successful, right? So the reputation becomes very, very important. And anything you have to do in life requires cooperation from people, call it creative cooperation, right? So basically, you need to work with people to get things done. You need help from others when you are in trouble. You also need to extend your help when you can. So all these aspects which are surrounding people is required as a support system, right? Irrespective of how rich, how successful you think you are, there will be cases and times when you need help from others. And society plays a big role in providing that support system wherever you are living, your community, you know, you have to have some fun, you have to have some life, you have to have something which you can be just yourself, right? I mean, it cannot be that you live alone with everything without people around you. I mean, I know it may be very difficult for people like who are introverts to mingle and have a good social life. It does not necessarily to be a high social life as in social life, but then even the introverts need to have a people around them. Even I have seen many introverts who are not good socially, but they have a very good social connect within their own circle, and they are very good happy with it, and they are very good about it also. I mean, going around with those people, helping them, having a good support system. So whatever that circle is, social circle is, it need not be too big or no. It should be something which is a balanced one, where you have a community, you can rely on them, you support them, they support you, you have some fun, laughter, you have some enjoyment around you. Those are very essential part of life, I feel. So progressing in those directions, also having a good family and relatives and having good friends, spending time with each other, living in a good community, having a good reputation in social circle is an extremely important and progressing in social dimension. So those are the four key dimensions we have talked about. So what we have talked about in the beginning is that to be successful in life, it is essential to progress in all the four dimensions. We covered the four dimensions: physical, mental, and what all aspects to cover in physical dimension over here, and mental dimension over here, spiritual dimension over here, and social dimension over here, right? Now that we covered all the four dimensions in which you have to progress to be happy, successful, contented life, or a contented life, how do we really do that, right? So we consider physical, mental, spiritual, social. How do we really do that practically, right? So that's how to apply. That is the part that we will cover now. How to apply? Let's take that in a through some examples, right? So number one example, let's take. So let's say you are working in an office, or you are in a business, and you are into working something. There is 2 hours of time. How do you utilize that 2 hours of time? Will you spend time with your family, or would you rather spend that 2 hours to earn something, right? So it may be related to your business. You may be able to do certain things in your product or service or whatever you are doing in your business, or you spend time with your family, or you go and play with friends, for example, or you spend time reading. These are the choices you have every day. Which is, let's say it's a weekend, you have 2 hours or 8 hours or 6 hours. How do you spend your time with? So that's the choice you have making. Are you going to go with reading, for example, in which case you will progress on your mental dimension, or probably you will spend time with family and friends, which is your social life, or you focus on your earning money, which is your physical dimension. So this is the trade-off that you can think through. Okay, if I do this activity, I will progress on this dimension, and if I do this activity, I will progress on this dimension. How it will help, you will know. Then what is required is, if your already physical dimensions are taken care well, say for example you have enough money, your physical dimension is much, your money, health and everything is good, you do not have to worry too much about it, then rather you can take a decision to spend time with your family, for example, maybe with your children, or you spend time with your friends, play something or something, right? So that way you can progress on that dimension where you have not progressed enough, so you can utilize your time accordingly. Now let's take another example, right? Let's take an example where you have to change a job, or you have to start a new business, for example. How the decision is not going to be easy. You have to consider several factors, but knowing that there are 4 dimensions we have to progress, if you do that job change from a company A to company B, will it help you in progressing all those 4 dimensions, right? Does it help you progress in this? Then probably you are making a right choice. But if it is not, and if it is not adding a value, let's say it actually providing you a lot more money than the company A provides. Company B is providing a lot more salary to you than company A, but your mental peace is going to be suffering because probably the stress will be more, or you will not get any time to do anything else apart from your work. Or even your social circle may suffer. Spiritually, maybe it's okay, whatever. So you consider that kind of an analysis to trade off. Is it going to help you in moving all these 4 directions? Then they can make a decision. Maybe this one is fine, but this may not be fine, right? So that kind of decision making can be done with this model, where you structured way, if you approach how to decide, thinking that at the end of it, your life has to be good, you have to succeed in life, and you have to progress in all these 4 dimensions. So that will help in coming up with that kind of a decision. Even let's say you are trying to do some new business, for example. Does it help in all the ways? You may be able to figure out that, okay, it will help me in earning more money, it will help me intellectually being so good, I can be so much innovative, so much creative, I can put all my skills to use, all of that. Socially also you will get to meet a lot of people, and you enhance your social circle as well as your credibility a lot more. But let's say if you find out that, okay, the business is not really something, is against your core values, right? So then it may help you to drop that idea, because you will not be happy at the end of it. Even though you may have everything, you may not be happy in doing that business which is against your core values, because your conscience will know everything, right? So it will tell you what you're doing is not right. So when you're planning for doing certain things, like the decision making for starting up a new startup or a business, if you think in these terms, it may help you avoid. And what if, let's say, this perfectly aligns with your business, your core values? Then sure, go ahead, in the sense that you can make that decision, right? So in all these decision makings, to do regular day-to-day activities utilizing the time that you have, you can have a quick flash of a model within your head about this 4: physical, mental, social, and spiritual, so that you apply those principles that you have in your head to your day-to-day actions. So that's how you apply. Okay. And one last thing, I just want to clarify that. So physical, when we say physical dimension, when we go to details, somebody may call it physical, and environmental also as a separate area under physical, right? So when we talk about mental dimension, of course you're talking about the mental dimension. We're also calling intellectual dimension as a separate one. And when we say social, we're also talking about social and occupational and somewhat financial as well. There is overlap between physical and social, because most of these occupational, financial things are overlapping with these dimensions. And spiritual, right? So basically spiritual. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these 8, these are 4, broadly covering all of these 8 aspects of wellness, you call it. You might have seen wellness wheels covering all these aspects of physical, environmental, mental, intellectual, social, occupational, financial, and spiritual. So this is called wellness wheel. You might have seen in terms of different health also, some people call six, wellness, 6 dimensions of wellness. These are 8 dimensions, someone calls 7 dimensions. But the point that I'm trying to highlight is, if you look at it, all of these part broadly covers under physical, mental, social, and spiritual dimensions. So it is extremely helpful in a day-to-day life to apply this model of physical, mental, social, and spiritual dimension and progress in them, so that the all aspects are broadly covered in the overall life progress. So that's what I wanted to convey through this, so to avoid any confusion and make sure that we cover all aspects. So that's it for this session. Hope this was useful. I'll just summarize very quickly. To progress towards success or contented life, or to live a life with happiness and joy, we need to progress in all the 4 dimensions: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. It is not enough to progress and focus only on one dimension, which most of the people knowingly or unknowingly end up doing, which is not the best way to go about it. Even starting with early years, in 20s, in 30s, as much as possible, have this idea in mind, so that you apply those wherever possible in your daily life, so that you grow in all dimensions, and as an individual you grow in a much better way, instead of trying to figure out or coming to know certain things much later in your life, so that you have a overall well-rounded growth in your life. So that was the key idea. We went through the details of each of the dimensions and how to apply in a day-to-day life, so you can take away and you can apply and extend and apply to your life as it fits. Hope that was useful. Thank you for watching.